Hello there, it's Samantha. Today I'm coming to you with my July book haul and wrap up as well as my BookTubeAthon wrap up. But here's the thing, I already filmed the clip for my July book haul and wrap up portion, so I'm just gonna insert that. I'm not gonna refilm it because the way that my books are organized, we have this like big stack in front and then behind we have more books. So as soon as I've read a book, I put it behind there, like as soon as I've wrapped it up. I already wrapped up everything and then I decided that actually I was gonna combine the two videos, but then I put my books away and I am too lazy to move this stack of books and get the books again. So we're just gonna insert the clip. My thoughts haven't changed since like Thursday when I filmed the video, so it's fine. I'm not gonna get them out again. I'm just gonna insert that clip and then I'm gonna talk about all the books that I read during the BookTubeAthon. I will let you know what challenges they completed, how I rated them, my thoughts, everything. You know how wrap-ups work, don't you? Oh my god, I love how I'm explaining this. That is enough rambling. On to the books that I read. So in the month, as I said, I bought 2 books because Amazon has this deal going on and it goes on to the 31st of August. So if you live in the UK, like, you should use this deal. Trust me, I'm not sponsored. Like, I have less than 1,000 subscribers. Nobody is trying to sponsor me, don't worry. Yeah, no, this is not sponsored. I just think this is a really cool deal and I know that a lot of us book lovers, you know, it's hard to be a book lover because books are so expensive sometimes. Anyway, but Amazon has this deal on where it's 2 paperbacks for £7, which is quite a nice deal. So I picked up 2 books which I've been eyeing for a really long time. The first one is Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. I had heard such fantastic reviews of this book last summer and it has been like in and out of my Amazon cart since then and I just don't know why I hadn't picked it up. And then I saw that it was in the deal and I was like, I have to pick this up. I'm not going to go into detail about what this book is about because I actually read it during the month, so I'll just talk about it in the wrap up portion. But this is the first book that I bought. The next book that I bought was Alex and Eliza by Melissa De La Cruz. This is actually on my BookTubeAthon TBR and it's currently the BookTubeAthon. It is day 4, the day that I'm filming this. I'm only 30 pages in. But yes, I have been eyeing this one for a really long time because obviously this is a Hamilton book. It's based on Hamilton the musical, if you didn't know, which is obviously based off of Alexander Hamilton, who was a person back in the day. It's about Alexander Hamilton and Elizabeth Schuyler's relationship, and I'm very excited to read it because I love Hamilton so much. I am literal Hamilton trash. Anyway, so those were the 2 books that I bought in the month. Now onto the books that I read. The first book that I finished in July was The Martian by Andy Weir. I was talking about this in my June wrap up. I was saying that like I was really close to finishing it, but I actually finished it on July 1st. So yeah, this was my second time reading this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I can't even tell you why I love it so much. I don't know. Mark Watney just has the best sense of humor and I really like learning about the sciencey stuff that goes into this because I'm not sciencey at all. I was not good at science. It's interesting to learn about the sciencey stuff. Obviously I know that it's not realistic, but in case you don't know what this book is about for some strange reason, this book is about our main character Mark Watney, who is on a mission to Mars with his crew, and then a storm happens and the rest of his crew leave because something happens to Mark and they think he's dead, but turns out he's alive. And he has to figure out how to survive on Mars until he can be rescued. But this book is just one of the most amazing books. I love all of the characters, especially Mark Watney. I love the movie. Oh, I need to rewatch the movie. I haven't seen it in ages. Obviously I give this book 5 out of 5 stars if you couldn't tell. The next 2 books that I read during the month of July, I've actually talked about in a separate video. I did a wrap up for the entire readathon that I read these books for, but not many people have seen that video. Well, I'll link it in the card and down below in case you want to go check it out, but I'll also mention my thoughts briefly because if nobody's seen the video, then you know, you wouldn't know what I thought of them. The readathon that I'm talking about is the biannual bibliothon, of course. I took part. I will link my playlist down below in case you want to go and check it out. But the first book that I finished for that was one that wasn't on my TBR, but I just had 60 pages left, so I was already reading it during the month anyway, and that was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This was a reread for me, and I mentioned this in my July TBR actually. I forgot I even did a TBR. But yes, this was a reread for me. I decided to reread it because I finished my first year of university in May, and in this book our main character Kath is going to uni for the first time. Kath also suffers from anxiety and I also suffer from anxiety. I felt like I was gonna get way more out of it reading it now than I did when I read it 4 years ago, and I definitely did. This book follows our main character Kath, who is a fangirl, obviously, for this series called Simon Snow, which is essentially this world's version of Harry Potter. It's about Kath as she goes off to university for the first time, and it's about her relationship with her twin sister, kind of them growing apart and her forming new relationships, whether that be friendships or romantic relationships, and how she deals with her anxiety through all of this. And this book was just amazing. It was absolutely adorable. Rainbow Rowell has this fantastic writing style, or at least I think it's fantastic. It's very easy for me to read, and I just fall in love with the characters and the setting, and I just love it so much. And also I thought that the anxiety rep was so well done. For me personally, I just thought that it was just very representative of how I feel, especially when it came to Kath in romantic situations. It went through her thought process as these things were happening, and I just feel like that's just so me. Like, you know, when she goes to like kiss a guy and she's like, oh my god, am I doing this right? I'm so worried. Like what, like kind of freaking out inside about what's happening, and that's just like entirely me. I loved this book so much. I obviously gave it a 5 out of 5 stars as well. The second and final book that I read during the biannual BookTubeAthon was Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. This book has been on my TBR for so long. It's been on my TBR for like 2 years, and I finally got to it. This was also in my predicted 5-star reads video, but I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. But if you don't know, this book follows 3 queens. They're triplets. They've all just turned 16, and at the age of 16 in this land, the 3 queens have to fight to the death, and only one can survive to become the queen. And all the queens are supposed to have magical powers, but only one of them actually does. So everyone thinks that this one queen is 100% gonna win because she's the most powerful queen that they've had in years, but not everything goes exactly as everyone expects. This book, it was really enjoyable. However, it was a tiny bit slow. The first 2/3 were a tiny bit slow. And also, I thought that there were just a few too many characters because there are obviously 3 queens, but then each queen has like side characters who are all kind of important to the story. You just have to pay attention a lot in this book. So it's definitely not a good one for a readathon. But yeah, I really enjoy this book. This book is very atmospheric. So I definitely suggest picking this up in the fall or winter time. If you haven't read it yet, then that would be a really good time to read it. Not very summery at all. It's very dark. And also the 3rd book is coming out in September or October. So if you wanted to pick up this book in like September, then that's kind of perfect because you can read the 2nd book and then get ready for the 3rd book to come out. It's the 1st book in a 4-book series, and I will definitely be continuing on because I am intrigued, but it just wasn't the best thing ever, and it was not as good as I was expecting. But I had heard mixed things, so I kind of was a tiny bit wary going in. So during the BookTubeAthon, I managed to finish 4 books, which is very exciting. I mean, I wish I had read more, but you know, c'est la vie. I did vlog the whole week. I don't know how it's turned out yet because I haven't actually edited it yet, but I currently have like 45 minutes of raw footage, so it's probably gonna be long-ish. It will be up by the time this video goes up, so I will link it in the card and down below if you want to go and check it out. But yes, on to the books. So the first book that I finished during the BookTubeAthon was Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. This completed 3 of the challenges for me, which were to let a coin toss decide your first read, to read a book about something that you want to do, because in this book our main character moves to California, which is something I have dreamed about since like a very young age. And then this also completed the challenge of reading a book with a beautiful spine, because I really like this spine. I like the gradient situation we have going on. I love blue, it's my favorite color. So anyway, but if you don't know what this book is about, this book is about our main character called Bailey. She has decided to move in with her dad in California. She had previously lived with her mom and her stepdad, but her mom and stepdad are kind of fighting all the time. And there was this traumatic event that happened many years ago, which is still affecting her relationship with her and her mom. So Bailey decides to move to California to move in with her dad. That's not the only reason she wants to move there. She's also been communicating with this guy called Alex on a movie forum discussion website. So she's been talking with this guy called Alex. Alex is just his screen name. She also doesn't use a real name. They don't know who the other one is, but she decides to move to California. She moves in with her dad and she gets this job working in this really weird museum. And she also meets this guy called Porter, who is kind of distracting for her. And she's still trying to find Alex throughout the book, but I'm not going to talk about what actually goes down because, you know, that's spoilers, although it is a contemporary romance, so you can probably already see where it's going. It's kind of like You've Got Mail. Anyway, but this book was absolutely adorable. I really liked the main character Bailey. She suffered from anxiety. I think it was never like stated, but like by her thoughts, I would judge that she suffers from anxiety, which was really nice to see. This book was just so adorable, like I just can't even. It was just so much fun to read. Apart from it did have some sort of like darker themes throughout. As I said, there was this traumatic event in her childhood, but it was still a really enjoyable read. But overall, I really loved this book and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'll probably reread it at some point in the future because it was so cute. The next book that I read during the BookTubeAthon was How It Works, The Cat. I don't know who it's by. It's a Ladybird book. It's like a joke coffee table sort of book. Not the sort of thing you're supposed to read cover to cover, but it completed the challenge of reading a book with green on the cover because the cat's eyes are green. So I was like, you know what? This is a super short book. Also, the way it's written, it's like 1 page of like massive writing and then a picture. So although this book was like 90 pages or something like that, it took me like 10 minutes to read it maybe. I really don't have that much to say about this book. Some of the jokes were funny, some of the jokes missed the mark. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars, and obviously I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because it's a coffee table book. The next one I finished completed the challenge of reading a book whilst wearing the same hat the whole time. I mentioned this book in my TBR and I said the reason why it counts for this challenge because I don't actually own any hats apart from a winter hat, and that winter hat is in storage. So I decided to read a book where the people on the cover are wearing hats and count that as completing the challenge, even though it doesn't really. But for that, I read The Mills and Boone Modern Girl's Guide to Happy Hour by Ada Adverse. This is another coffee table book. I got this for my 18th birthday because here in the UK, you're allowed to drink from the age of 18. This is like the same thing as like the cat book where like there's only a tiny bit of text and then a picture. This was like 100 pages and I read it in, again, like 10 minutes. Some things were really funny. There were some things in here that I sent to my friends because I was like, this is so you when you're drunk. It was just really funny. But again, some things missed the mark for me, so I only give it a 3 out of 5 stars. But again, it's a coffee table book. You're not supposed to read it cover to cover. And the final book that I finished during the readathon was Alex and Eliza by Melissa De La Cruz. I originally was just reading this book to try and read 7 books, but then I realized that this actually completed the challenge of reading a book and then listening to the adaptation. I'm kind of cheating for this, like I'm stretching a little bit, but I think that this book kind of counts. Hamilton the musical actually came first and then it inspired the author to write this book. However, I'm still counting it, okay? It's fine. I was gonna try and read Every Day by David Levithan and I wasn't feeling it. I read this and I'm counting it as completing that challenge because then I've completed 6 of the 7 challenges and that makes me happy. So, okay? Let me have this, okay? But if you don't know, Alex and Eliza is a book about Alexander Hamilton and Elizabeth Schuyler's relationship. It follows them as they first met and how they came to be married, essentially. That's everything that was covered in this first book. I think it's a duology, so there's another book, and I think that's going to follow what happens like maybe in the second act of the musical. If you've listened to the musical, you know what I'm talking about. I enjoyed this book, but I think the main reason I enjoyed it was because it's Hamilton fan fiction essentially, and that's like the only reason I think that I enjoyed it a lot, because it was actually quite slow and there wasn't really much of a plot. It just kind of followed their relationship, literally that was it, and kind of like the day-to-day life of the time. But I'm a big history nerd, so I actually really enjoyed that because I really don't know that much about American history, so it was kind of interesting for me to read in that respect. But I do think that I rated it higher than I would have if I didn't love Hamilton already. So I ended up giving this book a 3.75 out of 5 stars. I would definitely recommend it if you love Hamilton, but if you don't, then this probably isn't the best book for you. I ended up giving it a 3.75. I'll probably pick up the sequel, but I'm not like itching to read it, but I probably will at some point. And finally, I have 2 other things to mention. I also started reading Every Day by David Levithan. I'm currently 59 pages into this, but I'm not really enjoying it that much. So far, not much has happened at all, apart from some insta-love, which I hate. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on with this. I think I'm going to read to like the 100-page mark. If I'm still not enjoying it, then I'm just going to DNF it because there's no point in me wasting my time on something that I'm not enjoying. I'm going out today actually to meet a friend, so I'm going to bring this with me and read it on the train, and if I'm still not enjoying it at the 100-page mark, then goodbye. I also read the first 2 novellas from The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas, and I also started the 3rd novella, but I haven't continued on yet. I got to page 140 in this book. I really enjoyed the first 2 novellas. I think I gave them both 5 out of 5 stars. They are very good novellas if you haven't read them. I'm definitely going to be continuing on with this during the month of August very soon because I want to continue on with my reread of the series. And during the week, I managed to read 1,127 pages, which I'm quite happy with. I did want to reach the 1,500 page mark, but it's okay. I don't mind. I was close enough. But that is all that I have for today's video, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. There's a button there, you can press it, and then you can also click the notification icon if you want. Please let me know if you took part in the readathon down below in the comments. I would love to know. So that's going to be all from me, so I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!